What's going on, my guys? Lost and Found Dating channel, back at it again this week, coming at you with some new hotness. As always, before we get into this week's video, you want to make sure that you subscribe to this channel, click that bell, that way you guys will be the very first to know when I come out with new heat, come out with that new hotness. You guys will be the very first to get updates. That way you can click on the video as soon as it drops, as soon as it releases to YouTube. So thanks for subscribing, and let's get into this week's video. Okay guys, so for this week's video, we're gonna be touching on a pretty important topic, something that I think will help you guys out a lot with your texting and as far as setting up dates. And in this week's video, we're going to be talking about why it's important to kind of establish a little bit of rapport and help the woman establish a level of comfort with you before you ask her out on a date, right? So maybe you guys exchanged numbers, you gave her your number, she gave you hers, you guys are talking. You can't assume that just because she gave you her number that she wants to go out on a date with you right away. You gotta work things a little bit. You gotta establish some comfort, some rapport before you ask her out on a first date. So in this week's video, I'm gonna be talking about why it's important to do that. Now, obviously guys, when you first meet a woman, she's going to want to, in some capacity, talk with you either over text or over the phone to get to know you a little bit before you go on a date with her. That's something that I've come to learn, but I know for some of you guys out there who are new to dating, some of you younger guys, you may not necessarily know that, and you may just assume, okay, as soon as we exchange numbers, that same day I'm gonna ask her out. Or as soon as we exchange numbers, maybe we met online, you know, I have her number now, I'm gonna text her right away and ask her out on a date. Now, something that I want to make sure you guys understand is even if the woman is very physically attracted to you, even if she has a high level of interest in you, it's still, in most cases, gonna take a little bit more than that for her to wanna go on a date with you, right? Aside from those things, she's gonna wanna know that you're a mentally sane and stable human being before she decides to go on a date with you and allow herself to be alone with you. Now, I know for us guys, it's a little different. We can look at a woman and just decide based on how she looks, you know, from across the room, or we can do online dating and we can look at our phone, look at the picture and be like, yeah, I'd go on a date with her. You know, we can make that decision right then and there just based on how the woman looks. You know, we can already decide, hey, she's attractive enough for me to want to take her out on a date and spend some time with her. With women, you know, you guys have to understand it's a little bit different. She can find you very physically attractive. She can look at your profile and you seem like a cool guy, or she can meet you and have a conversation with you. You seem like a cool guy, but the element that she has to take into account is, you know, is she gonna be physically safe when she's with you? Is she gonna be able to spend time with you alone and feel like she's comfortable, feel like her safety and her well-being isn't gonna be jeopardized in any way? You know, us guys, for the most part, that's not something that we really think about. We don't necessarily think, you know, am I gonna be safe if I'm with this woman? But that's something that, you know, you have to understand as guys, that's always gonna be an element that she's taking into account. It's not just about how you look or you seem like you have a cool personality. She's taking into account, okay, if I'm alone one-on-one with this guy, am I gonna feel comfortable with him? Am I gonna feel safe with him? And that's why it's important to establish that level of comfort and build some rapport before you ask her out on a date. For me and how I visualize women when they're making a decision on whether or not they'd like to go out with you, I think there's a couple of things that they take into consideration, and I'm gonna list through those, These aren't in any particular order. I'm not gonna say which one is more important than the other. These are just things that I think she's taking into account when she's making the decision as far as whether to agree to go on a date with you or not. And the first one that I'm gonna go through is obviously physical attraction, right? She has to have a minimum level. You have to meet her minimum standards of being physically attractive, right? And the thing about physical attraction is that's a decision that she can make just looking at your picture. That's a decision that she can make just looking at you from across the room. So as far as the texting and the talking that you guys are going to be doing before the date, there's nothing you can really say or do that's going to impact your physical attractiveness to the woman. It pretty much comes down to your face, what your face looks like, and your body. And within the course of a couple of days, you can't really change that. You can't really move the needle as far as your face or your body. Unless you're Professor Clumps or Nutty Professor or something like that, you drink something that, you get all blah, 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 and your body and your face changes, automatically when you drink it. There's nothing you can really do as far as your level of physical attractiveness to her. She either finds you physically attractive or she doesn't, or whatever. There's a spectrum there, but you have to meet her minimum standards of physical attractiveness in order for her to say yes to go on a date with you. The next thing is your social skills, right? How sociable you are, the way in which you communicate, the cues that you give off when you're talking, when you're texting, before you go on a date. Those are the cues that she's gonna use to make a decision on whether you meet her standards as far as sociability and communication skills. Now, this is a key component, guys, and it's very important how sociable she sees you. That's gonna play a huge role as far as whether or not she says yes as far as going on a date with you. Now, basically, guys, what she's looking to see and decide is the time during which you guys exchange numbers to when you ask her out. She's looking to see, okay, does this guy do anything that comes across as rude, that makes me uncomfortable, that comes across as disrespectful? Does he do or say anything that's going to make me question being with him one-on-one, or that's going to make me reconsider because I feel unsure or because I feel unsafe if I were to spend time with him? That's what she's looking for as far as that sociability factor and how she's observing you communicate when you guys are texting or talking on the phone prior to you asking her out. If she asks you, hey, what do you like to do for fun? And you respond, well, I don't really have that many friends. I just like to sit at home and collect knives. She's gonna be like, okay, well, it's back to the drawing board because I'm definitely not spending time with this guy. He's a weirdo, right? So she's looking to see, does this guy do anything that's gonna make me, throw up the red flag. They like that thing. Red flags, if there's any red flags that he's weird or he's creepy or he's rude or he's gonna make me uncomfortable. So when she's asking you these kinds of questions and she's, getting to know you before you go on a date with her, some of you guys might be like, look, why do I have to text her? Why do we have to talk? Why can't I just exchange numbers and then we just set up a time to go on a date? That's why, because she wants to figure some of these things out, and she's gonna make sure that she's comfortable and has that rapport with you before she spends time with you in a one-on-one setting, right? So don't do anything that would make her question that. Don't tell her that you just have no friends and no social life and that you sit at home and you collect knives all day. That's just gonna come across as weird. Very weird. Think about that, guys. That's pretty funny. Could you imagine if a woman, if you asked her, hey, what do you like to do for fun? And then she told you, she's like, yeah, I don't really have any friends. Just, sit at home and I just collect knives. That's pretty much my hobby. Me personally, even if she's attractive, I might have to give her the old Casper if she pulled one of those. I need some other hobbies outside of the knife collecting. You collect stamps, and that's cool. I have no problem with that. You collect baseball cards. If you just collect knives, I don't know if I want to go see your place and see what goes on over there. That's how she feels, so you see how she feels. So those are really the two things, guys, that are gonna play the biggest role as far as whether or not she decides to go on a date with you. It's the physical attractiveness part and the sociability. Now, as far as the kinds of things that you can talk about and you can converse about prior to asking her out on a first date, I'm going to cover that in a separate video, so be on the lookout for that. But another thing that I will add is how many days between when you exchange numbers and when you ask her out, or essentially how long it takes her to feel comfortable with you and for the two of you to build that rapport to the point where she's comfortable going on a date with you. One of the biggest things that's going to impact that is the context under which you guys met, right? That's going to play a role as far as how much talking and conversing will need to be done in order for her to feel comfortable going out on that date with you. So give you a perfect example. If you guys met in person, you guys met, let's say at a restaurant, you were out with your coworkers celebrating something, she was with her girlfriends, and you two happen to meet in passing. You guys met in person, you guys met there at the restaurant. You have a couple of things going in your favor, right? You have the social validation of her knowing that, okay, you have work colleagues, you have friends, you have people that enjoy spending time with you, so that works in your favor. There's also the element that you guys met in person, right? That's something sometimes we forget about with the whole online dating thing. If you met in person, she sees what you look like. She knows that, okay, the guy that I'm seeing, this is him. She sees what you look like. She sees your face. She sees your physique. She can make that judgment call as far as how physically attractive she finds you. If you guys met online, there's different pieces involved, right? One, there's no social validation there. She doesn't know, aside from the pictures that she sees of you, what your social life is like. She doesn't really know how sociable you are. So she has to kind of make decisions and kind of infer that based on the way in which you communicate. And then also the other factor there is you guys didn't meet in person, so she's just assuming that the pictures that she sees, that this is who I'm talking to. She's gonna has to assume that this guy who I see in the pictures, that's an accurate representation of the person that I'm communicating with over the phone or via text, right? So there's kind of an extra judgment call that she needs to make there. So that's why if you guys meet in person, it's a little bit easier to build that level of rapport and that comfort level versus if you guys met online. It may take you a little bit more, and I'd recommend waiting a little bit longer as far as asking her on a first date. But again, that's something that I'll touch in another video as far as some strategies and some techniques that I use as far as things you can talk about and ways in which you can establish that rapport before you ask her out. So I'm wrapping this video up, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys learned a lot from this video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like it. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you liked about it. Share some fun stories. Share some stories where maybe you met someone, you met a woman and you found out that she collected knives and then you had to turn her down. Love to hear about some of those fun things. But thank you guys for checking out the video. Definitely subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.